Hi, my name is Crispina French, and promoting creative textile reuse is my jam. I'm an OG textile alchemist, worked my way through art school making ragamuffins from thrift store sweaters way back in the 1980s. That college side hustle grew into a full-fledged business, and here I am today to show you how to do it too. Stick around for all the things helping to navigate both the chaotic and dreamy chapters of building your profitable textile upcycling business. We'll talk material sourcing, business savvy, product development, marketing, and self-care. Gloss over the hard parts? Not here. Experience, lessons, and know-how. Deep dive into the struggles, wins, and rewards of running your sustainable textile upcycling business. Think of this as your favorite craft class mixed with environmental business school. Are you ready to be inspired, energized, and supported? This is the Rags to Riches Textile Upcycling Podcast. This episode of the Rags to Riches Textile Upcycling Podcast is brought to you by The Unruffled. The Unruffled is a vibrant and feminine collection of slow-made garments and accessories handmade with love by Sandra Primo. Sandra is based in Austin, Texas, and every item she makes is thoughtfully constructed from finely sourced, reused textiles, favoring silks and lace and crochet. Bespoke, one of one, encouraging an infinite circle of recovery. Step into the world of The Unruffled at www.theunruffled.com. And visit the show notes page for this episode at ragstorichestextileupcyclingpodcast.com for links and more information. Okay, Kathleen Tesnakis, I am so excited to welcome you to Rags to Riches Textile Upcycling Podcast. It's such a great thing to have you here. We've known each other for a really long time, and that is one of the reasons I'm so excited to hang out with you and share a little bit about what you bring into the world of textile upcycling. And, you know, sometimes I get really wrapped up in the whole environmental aspect of what that means to me. That's a really important feature for me. But there's also this other piece of it that I really would love to kind of focus on with our conversation. And that is what we bring as makers, and specifically what you bring with your amazing business called Ekologic, based in Troy, New York, what you bring to your customers and how that serves you and them and the wild world that we all share. So yeah, talk a little bit about what you make and why you make it.
Okay, this is such a great question. I'm really excited to be here, Crispina. And I just, as you said, we've known each other for such a long time. Ever since I started working, you were the only person in the world that was had passion about the same thing and was doing it. And somebody said to me, "Have you seen this Crispina's work?" And I was just blown away. So I was so happy when you found me at on the jury of New York Gift. So that was, 25 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I found, a spirit sister, which is so amazing. And now we have any more. I mean, that's why I'm so excited to be on your podcast, Crispina, is because you're creating more spirit sisters and brothers out there for all of us, and super exciting. But anyway, to talk about my work, I am a recycling designer, and I specifically recycle old cashmere sweaters that are coming from my New York City community. And I transform those by manipulating washing and manipulating the material. And once I have deconstructed, I begin reconstructing and revisioning into my wearable art. And this has been such an exciting place for me to do work as an artist, because I'm really passionate about the environmental message and awareness of each other in the world. I think this probably started during my childhood in India, when I would go to different cottage industries with my mother and just really understood the power of handmade and what it can do for people in the world, and what it did for me was it gave me a vehicle to express my passion for the environment and to try to trigger people into awareness through a beautiful quality remade item.
That's amazing. I love that. And for those of people out there who are not familiar with ekologic, your main product is clothing and accessories. You make beautiful sweaters and hats and gloves, and as well as dresses and skirts, and like really fashion is your thing. And is that fair to say?
Yes, no, absolutely. And what's weird about sort of the fashions that I create is there is an element of healing that is going with those items, an element of empowerment, and expressing individuality. And I really truly believe that if you are bold enough to wear fashions that really represent yourself and represent your style or expression, then you're more likely to use your voice to preserve the earth, to make sure our waterways are clean, to make sure that we're living in harmony with all the animals and insects and the world in itself. We are an entire ecosystem. Our planet is so important. So I feel that by giving an opportunity for people to celebrate themselves through our recycled clothing and accessories, not only do they get the warmth and comfort, but they get this little extra edge to be themselves, to speak out, to live their truth. And that really excites me.
So what is it about the upcycled fashion that you create that allows for that to happen?
One of the things that I learned right off is that, well, for me, I loved the sort of multifarious nature of the material. The fact that I couldn't control the colors that came in, try as I might, I'm in the business of creating trend, not following trend, because my material is random. So it's my job to sort of make something beautiful out of that. And what I loved when I was at my table is thinking about all the different people in the world and the colors and the things that they look good in. Just even the hat designs were specifically designed after face shapes and problem issues for people, so they could really have hats that fit them well, that really sort of accentuated their face shapes and their hair, whatever it was that they needed to take care of. So the differences and sort of that randomness of the material really spoke to the diversity of humans worldwide. And I love that reflection. It's so exciting to me. It's what inspires me at my color tables when I am creating these individual pieces. I mean, how many designers make one-of-a-kind things through their career? I mean, I don't know how. I mean, there must be over 1 million one-of-a-kind ecologic pieces out in the world, which is really cool.
It's so cool. Yeah. And I think that one of the things that we as textile upcycling entrepreneurs kind of ascertain and figure out, and until pretty recently in my career, I never was able to kind of articulate and clearly understand the magic. And maybe the word magic gets overused, but there's this innate creative transformation that happens in so many aspects of what we do. We are limited by our commitment to upcycling to start with.
Yes.
Then we need to figure out, in order to make a viable business, we need to figure out how are we going to price things? How are we going to make things so that there's a system in place? So yes, we are making one-of-a-kind things, but we also need to know that it's not painstakingly reinventing the wheel every single time.
Yes.
So we kind of institute, right, these processes that allow for us to have one of a kindness, if you will,
Yes.
within the scope of a production process that is, again, creative.
Mm-hmm.
So, we are offering our customers, and let me just say that you are offering your customers, because honestly, the production that I do is very limited at this time in my career, and I see that you're really your kind of way of pushing your career forward has been to just dig right into that and really offer this creative dressing option for your customers, creative jobs for your employees. You continue to grow and evolve and design with creativity with those parameters in place, and knowing how to scale in a business that, everybody told me back in the day, and I'm sure you've heard the same. Oh, you can't scale that. Like, how are you going to do that? And
Well, that's
let me show you.
Yeah, we can't exist. We can't do it the way that we do. You can't possibly make kind things for people. Yes, you can. Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, it's harder. I mean, obviously, like, I'm sure for you, it's the same. A lot of designers are not on the production floor every day. And that's something that I definitely do. I've found my ways to power work to make that something that's really enjoyable and not stressful for me. Part of the reason I'm able to do that is, like, I have such an amazing group, a team. I mean, we're a very small team. There's just four and, a third of us, 4 and a third.
Yeah.
Myself, my husband Charlie, Victoria, Grayson, and then Sarah moonlights to help us out. But I'm so fortunate that these amazing people came and found me and wanted to work with me and learn this process. And so they really take some of the pressure out. I don't have to worry that my parts or my things are organized in particular size and color order. That happens for me. And I can really focus on the more complicated components of designing and process.
Yeah, and strategy of driving your business forward, right?
Yeah.
Like in teaching by example, there's, like you said, when we started chatting, there's like such a nice uptick and sort of, I don't know if it's a resurgence or maybe just a surge in people really thinking about how they consume textiles and what kind of businesses they want to support, and how when they spend their dollars, they are actually voting to support the person they give those dollars to. So maybe talk a little to that.
This just gives me goosebumps. I get so excited. I mean, there were different parts of my career over the last 25 years. I remember it was probably about 2012, 2011, when customers started to tell me the reasons that I make the work, talking about, labor around the world and rivers and mountains and communities being polluted by textiles, and, the landfill issues, and how they wanted to buy local, US made, handmade, and recycled, which it took a long time. I mean, think about that. I started in 1996. It wasn't until 2012 that I really felt, wow, the light bulb went out. And now we're talking like 2022. And what I see is the switch has flipped. The faucet is on. And when I go out to sell my work and talk to the community, it's just overwhelming what they're thinking about. They are changing their lives in the way you and I changed our lives so many years ago. And they're thinking about how they're consuming, how they're discarding, what they're investing in. They're definitely using their money to empower their community. They're voting with their dollar. We just have this uptick of really educated, passionate people that have, come into our path. And nothing could excite me more. I mean, I met a 13-year-old budding fashion designer in Columbus, Ohio recently, and we just had some of the best chats about how to, build your life, and that following your dream and your passion about recycling and educating and making all of these decisions in life is it's really enriching because it touches everything. Once you dive in, it can be overwhelming because you realize, oh my gosh, I don't really want that plastic. And I've been hearing about, plastic particles coming off in laundry. Maybe I should wear natural fibers. So it's really thrilling to be on this new leg of the journey with so many awake, passionate people ready to take action.
I feel the same way. And it's like you, the little hairs on the back of my neck just stand up, thinking back to those years of gentle, compassionate,
yes,
and more gentle, compassionate education, and people, saying things that you might not imagine actually saying out loud. Is it clean?
Yes.
Is it okay? Is it like, really stepping all the way back into that beginner's mind and really trying to help people understand why this is actually not only a good idea for a creative business, but a necessity in our biosphere to support the rest of us, right? The rest of us are being on the planet, not just the humans, and actually humans as well, of course, because we are all, like you said, connected. And it is just what a breath of fresh air to have people honestly understanding that it actually is maybe a little bit more fun to have less and participate more in not being so, reducing the level of maybe that competitive mindset of, more is better, whoever dies with the most toys wins kind of thought process, which was like the 90s, I think, was like the height of that sort of mindset, right? Maybe, I'm hoping. So, hopefully that won't come back around. But, and I don't think this is a trend. I think that there's a real awareness of the fragility of our planet.
Yes.
So, that comes into it. And then I get, it gets a little kind of doom and gloomy when I start thinking about, when we all start looking at the numbers and looking at, the science behind how humans have impacted our environment. And, I choose to look at things in a way that is empowering and helpful to people and doesn't, I feel like sometimes the way our impact is presented really shuts people down. Yeah. And I love the way that ekologic, as a brand, is really celebrating the possibilities, right? And the encouraging a 13-year-old fashion designer, like that's what we all need to be doing, right? Like this is just so. Speak a little bit about how your life path and your future is connected to helping people feel positive.
Yes. And it's just such a really important aspect because the overwhelm is real. But the flip side of that is once you start taking baby steps into this sort of eco thinking and living, more light comes in, more community connection comes in. You go to the farmer's market, the vegetables taste better. It's like the same thing with the clothing. When you're wearing an ekologic sweater that just fits you perfectly and it's in your colors and everyone notices right away, because fashion is not just for the person wearing it. It's a gift to everyone else. When you see somebody so beautifully put together, somebody that's really celebrating themselves, we all get happy. So for me, that was sort of the way I was able to get into the market so early before we actually had created a customer base, because my concept was like, if you make it so beautiful that they can't resist, they're actually going to peek into how it was made, and then they're going to seek out special items like that. So, I find that's really true. The stories that I hear from my customers are truly incredible. People say, "Oh, Kathleen, if I'm not feeling great, I'm just in one of those little gray spaces in my mind and soul, and I put one of your pieces on, and I go out to the grocery store." I come back feeling good because somebody connected with me. They said I looked great. Somebody smiled at me. And that's really amazing that objects can do that. They can really bring comfort and joy and connection. And that I wanted to put my environmental message in a place that the people would take that message and connect with each other. And the one thing that I have found over these 26 years is that the product is still out there doing that. Sometimes I see 25-year-old product out there that is still doing that to this day. And I don't.
That's just beautiful. That's
a more powerful place to do work.
Yeah. I mean, that is just beautiful. I remember, back in the day when I was just trying to imagine, like, how do I get my message out there? And I feel like because our paths have been so parallel that this is probably kind of resonate with you too. And just thinking about, like, yes, I have this environmental mission that I'm on, but I'm also on a mission of, feeling good and having fun and engaging with people and having there be a festive element to everyday life, right? And just really allowing for others to find that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then thinking, well, if you wear something that is representative of how you are in the world, whether it be an ecologic sweater or, what any kind of thing, right? Colorful,
clothing,
whatever style. Yeah.
Culture, family. I mean, yes.
Handmade of any kind, right? Like my kind of general rule of thumb with my own wardrobe is if it's not handmade, it needs to be recycled, whether it's thrifted or, whatever, like it needs to be a pass me down or it needs to be handmade. And I feel like that is such a simple and easy gift to give. And it just doesn't ever stop giving.
No.
It just never, and even, if a sweater that you made 25 years ago was passed from mother to daughter over a generation, like it still continues that path. And those ripples are traveling out from that. The people wearing the sweaters don't even understand the impact that they're putting in the world by simply getting dressed.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, wow. So,
a funny story. I mean, for me, I'm sure you react the same way when you see a piece come up on Poshmark or something like that. I actually was, my supplier mentioned to me one day that I was making work too well. And I said, well, what do you mean? And they say, well, Kathleen, when we see your recycled sweaters that, you bought the raw material from us, and then when we see your pieces come through, they go right back into first quality. And then, that's not really, that's obviously most people are making things for obsolescence, and I'm doing exactly the opposite. And so he thought that was very curious, but I was like, well, no, that's kind of the point. We're keeping it out of the landfill for an extended period of time and making things that are cherished.
Isn't that interesting too? Like there's like this well, I don't know if it's age old, but it's certainly throughout my lifetime, there's been just exactly what you said. Obsolescence is the way that you make money. Right. You sell soap and candles because they run out and you got to go buy more. And it's just interesting to think about that. What are the ramifications, like the long-term ripples that come out from making a product like yours and like mine that are actually designed to be cherished and used for generations? How, where does that go? Like where it's kind of an interesting concept to just imagine how I mean, most of the things that I make are wool. And I think for you too, like the, cashmere and wool, there's the dreaded moths, which do come into play in the long term, right?
It's a natural
Yeah,
fiber. And,
yeah,
like
yeah,
the thing is, your dog is going to love the cashmere as much as you do. Your cat is going to do the same. The moths want
yeah,
to build their families there. So do the mice. And they're not
yeah,
going to do that to your polyester and the other things that are polluting the planet. They're coming for your best materials. So,
yeah, yeah,
I mean, I think that should say something to other human beings.
yeah, yeah, right.
And
It's so interesting.
there are ways, it's like if you're going to throw your cashmere in a dark, undisturbed corner, it's going to be found and utilized by these creatures. But if you keep it washed and, sealed or freeze and have a way of treating it, you're going to be fine. I mean, I don't know about you, Christina, but, I'm sure your household is the same. It's just full of wool.
Yeah, yep, totally, yep.
I mean, you would think that we would just have moths, but we don't, because of the way we manage and that we use it. And, it's not.
Yeah, and really where I think I was going with the question was more like, I got diverted by the moths because, sometimes I get donations from people and it's like, you open the box really carefully outdoors because if there's moths in there, I don't want them in my studio or in my life at all. So,
Can I tell funny stories?
Yes, please tell a funny story.
We joke about Mothra. Because, sometimes we're out in the world and, today people don't really know about natural fibers. And so they may not know how to care for their woolens that they've just brought out. And I mean, I have seen Mothra became a joke in our family because people will take these, garments out of the closet and not realize that the little flecks of dust or the spider web type thing is actually moths. And they're walking around the world bringing their moth eggs with them. And so we have code word, Mothra. And I mean, what can you do? I mean, because you feel so bad because you want to educate them. You don't want to freak them out. But you also really prefer that they don't come near the booth.
Yeah. Keep walking. Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. 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 That is hysterical. And it's like, yeah, I'm on ya with the Mothra. I'm going to use that myself. That's hysterical. That is so funny. And it's true. Like people don't know. And it's part of like that gentle and compassionate education that now that we've gotten people to pay attention to the consumption factor, now we can start talking to them about the care and, the longevity that's built into careful care of the things that you spend money on.
Yes.
And I guess that kind of circles back around to the whole model around buying and producing things that are designed to be, used for a long period of time. And in my head, that means, it's okay to spend money on things that are going to last you a long time. And it's also okay to not have not shop.
Yeah.
You don't have to shop all the time. You can shop when you find something that really speaks to you and is super special and, be very selective and buy things. I remember I had a pair of jeans when I graduated high school that I think I literally wore them for seriously like 20 years and they were Levi's. Levi's do not make jeans like that anymore.
Yeah.
That's not an option with with that particular brand. But there are brands out there, and maybe the pair of jeans costs $200 or $250.
Yeah.
But if they're going to last me for 20 years, it's a valid purchase. I mean, yeah, you might have to save up, and yeah, you might not want to go, spending handfuls of money on things that are of lesser quality that are going to wear out or not fit you properly in a shorter period of time. It's thoughtful consumption, right? It's planned. And I feel like that is kind of a frontier that might be something to address as we move into the future with, the response to fast fashion and that education factor that we've both really been in, pretty deep for our careers, and thinking about how to, kindly and thoughtfully tell people, like, it's not cheaper if you shop at Walmart.
Yes.
It's not cheaper if you spend,
It often is more expensive. I mean, I had I wear my cashmere skirts very often. I really love wearing them, and that means I'm wearing them maybe more than other products. So I just sort of calculated, that one that I loved so much lasted me 7 years or more. And actually now I just have to darn up a hole and it can be my casual skirt. But just amortizing that, I mean, that is a $33 investment over those 7 years of seriously heavy wear. So $33 a year to have a skirt that I love and wear at least 30 to 40 times a year.
Right.
So that,
right. And it's handmade and it's recycled and it's cashmere. So it's snuggly and gorgeous. And the pieces of the puzzle that many people are unaware of is that, when you're wearing a cashmere skirt that you made or someone in your studio made, that person was well treated.
Yes.
Where, if you wear a skirt from Target or Walmart or Shein or whatever, you can pretty much rest assured that person who made that article of clothing was certainly not well treated,
exactly,
not paid fairly, not celebrated for being creative in their lives. So it all of the pieces kind of fit together. And I just love to watch that unfold in your business and see, people. I mean, I've seen people wearing ekologic in the wild, and I just think that it makes my heart sing. I just think, look at that. I know who made your sweater. And, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's always so much fun when people start talking about it. I'm like, yes, you know the best.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Exactly.
Before you were talking a little bit about the magic, and you were concerned that, maybe that word is used so much. But I don't know. I truly believe there is magic. And I always say there's a little magic and a lot of love in everything that we put together. And what's unusual about my studio, I actually know that those other people that are in my studio, they are approaching it the same way. And I've actually asked that of them, because I think that intention, that creativity, that spark, I think it goes into the work and it multiplies. So
yes,
I think that intention as you're creating work is important. So please, everybody, put your magic and put your love in the work, because over the years I see that it goes somewhere. It multiplies. It is doing its job.
Oh, that is so lovely. I love, love, love that idea and that thought. And just, it's like, you see food often, made with love, restaurants that have like that on their menu. And it's the same thing. It's so, I believe that as well. I feel, human energy is so much more important and powerful than anyone actually can document.
Yeah.
So, well, with that, I think we should just talk a little bit about how people can get their hands on a little piece of your magic. Do you have a beautiful website, and I would love to have you share a little bit about just kind of like your annual cycle of how and where people can find you and try your things on, maybe in person as well as maybe online.
Yes, well, I do juried art shows around the country, and I have the website. And if you are fortunate enough to come to Troy, New York, you can come and join us at the studio. So feel free to make an appointment. If you are in town, I welcome that. But a lot of times to see my work, you want to see me at juried art shows. Right now, I'm about ready to go on the road. I'm going to be doing the Ann Arbor art show, the original. the Bellevue Art Museum in Seattle, and Jackson, Wyoming Art Festival. And then when I return, I will be attending the Hamptons Classic, and then a few shows at Devon. And then we go into full season in the fall, and I hope that you will be able to see me at Grand Central. So the list and information of the shows that I do is on the website at the front page. And our newsletter is really kind of fun. I put the newsletter out sort of whenever I have something important to say, every couple of weeks. I don't do it consistently through the summer, but I always send something out to tell you where I'm going to be. I love featuring the new work so you can actually see the collections that come out, because ekologic is never the same. And people say, well, I do not want a sweater until the fall. I tell them, start looking now, because in the summertime is when I really have time for creativity. So some of the more funky, original, interesting pieces are going to be happening now, and they're going to disappear really quickly. So just connecting through that newsletter and online is perfect. And please come and see me in person when you can. And
awesome. Thank you so much.
With a K. I think it's ekologic.com. It's an echo as an reverberation. Echoing the past, preserving the futures. Why it's named.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. I love that. And we will have all Kathleen's information and links on the show notes for this episode. So not to worry if you didn't catch that, but it is ekologic, ekologic.com. You will find Kathleen's product and story there. And please do look her up and seek her out in person if you're in the area where she'll be selling. Kathleen, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to share your journey and methodology and philosophy with all the people who will be listening to this. And I just celebrate you and all the work you've done.
Well, thank you so much, Christina. And I feel the same way about you. And I'm just thrilled for the community. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye. Hey, so I'm over here and I'm serving you a giant air hug because you just finished another episode of the Rags to Riches Textile Upcycling Podcast. Thank you for being with me. Our music is provided by The Lucky Five. Learn more about them at thelucky5.com. Our show is produced and edited by Vandal Hyacinth. If you want to dive in deep, head over to Rags to Riches Textile Upcycling Podcast.com. Today's episode of Rags to Riches podcast is brought to you by the Stitcherhood Recycling Society, my online membership community for creative textile upcycling, recycling, and reuse entrepreneurs. Inspiration, shared experience, tutorials, business savvy, and connection to a whole posse of people who understand the passion and intricacies of running an environmentally kind, creative textile upcycling biz. Daily posts, weekly stitch hours, book recommendations, group chats, member profiles, and strong connections is what you can expect when you join Stitcherhood. Head on over to stitcherhood.crispina.eco and sign up for a free 7-day trial to see if my Stitcherhood Recycling Society is a good fit for you and your textile upcycling business.